Rhetoric is no substitute for reality. The most basic question is not what is best, but who shall decide what is best. It doesn't matter how smart you are, unless you stop and think.
Hi, thanks for joining me. 6283 Talk, John Soto here. Just going to go over some of these Thomas Sowell quotes. Pretty interesting stuff. And it's just really good time to take a step back and just listen to some of these things that they make you think, they help you understand just life in general, life lessons, all that good stuff.
Virtually no idea is too ridiculous to be accepted, even by very intelligent and highly educated people, if it provides a way for them to feel special and important. Some confuse that feeling with idealism. Life does not ask what we want. It presents us with options.
And that's it, right? And you have to choose. You have to choose what's going to be the best for you, what you can accomplish, what you can do, what you can reason with, how you're going to negotiate your space in life, right? You're given a hand, whatever that hand is, just like poker, just like any other game. And how you choose to play it is the ultimate. That's the game of life. Everyone's not going to be born a millionaire. Some people are going to be born literally in dirt, and you got to make with it what you can. And that may sound harsh, but it's the reality.
When people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination.
Right? So that is a very big, when you're looking at the affirmative action movement, right? When you're looking at DEI hiring, things of that nature, right? You have people that when we're going back to a meritocracy, or at least we're trying to get back to a meritocracy, right? The person that does the job best gets the job. We're never gonna have that in the jobs that I've had. It's always been somebody knows somebody, blah, 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 this and that, but it always worked more like, this person, that way you're getting ahead. All right. That's very different than saying this class of people is going to have a few extra points. I vehemently disagree with that. I disagree with the other one as well, but that one is a lot harder to curtail, right? But if you're saying that these minority students are going to get extra points on an exam just because they're minority students, that's not good. We should all be in agreement of that, but I know most of us are not. A lot of us.
The fact that so many successful politicians are such shameless liars is not only a reflection on them, it is also a reflection on us. When the people want the impossible, only liars can satisfy.
And that is a great point. Like when you look at the current mayoral race in New York City, I know I kind of want to keep this timeless, but whatever. He is a devout socialist, whatever people say, democratic socialist, this and that. But again, he is surging because he's promising things that he know that first off, he has no legal authority to do, right? Like he's talking about a $30 minimum wage. He doesn't have the authority to change the minimum wage. That's a legislative thing that happens through the state. But the point is, just lie and tell the people what they want to hear. Even though anyone that listens to Thomas Sowell knows that a $30 minimum wage is a disastrous idea. But for these soft-hearted liberals, right, that say, give these poor people more stuff, and we can like that, and then we can be virtuous because we provided to them the savior that's going to give them things. All he has to do, Mamdani, is say the lies, espouse the lies, talk about these things, government-run grocery stores, free health, free daycare, free buses, $30 minimum wage, increase the business tax, tax the wealthy. None of those things he can do. Literally none. He doesn't have the authority to do any of those things. But if he's talking about it and he's saying it as something that he would like to do or like to accomplish, he could say that as much as he wants. He could say, I want New York City to be the first city that sends a man to the moon. He can say that, right? If that's something that the public has a really big appetite for. Just to say it. And what's going to happen? People are going to vote for him because he's saying the lie.
It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. Age gives you an excuse for not being very good at things that you were not very good at when you were young. Mystical references to society and its programs to help may warm the hearts of the gullible, but what it really means is putting more power in the hands of bureaucrats. Everyone may be called comrade, but some comrades have the power of life and death over other comrades.
Comrades with the AI voices to saying whatever.
Whatever we wish to achieve in the future, it must begin knowing where we are in the present. Not where we wish we were or where we wish others think we are, but where we are, in fact. The welfare state is the oldest con game in the world. First you take people's money away quietly, and then you give some of it back to them flamboyantly.
I think it was Milton Friedman that says, they're taking the money out of your back pocket. They're taking some of it for themselves, and they're handing it to you in front of you. That's essentially what happens. And that's actually best case scenario, because for the most part, they usually don't hand any of it back to you, right? If you're middle class in any way, you're paying, 40% of your wages goes to taxes, and you don't get. I don't get any services, which I wouldn't want, but I'm just saying, if 40% of my pay is going to taxes, probably more, right? Because I pay 30% federal, then I pay, I think 8% state, and then I pay another 3 or 4% to the city. So it's a lot of money, right? And then obviously I have health insurance, and I have to pay for my retirement account and stuff like that. So when all said and done, I'm getting less than half my pay. Some of it does go towards me, granted, but I want to say a good 40 plus to just about 50% of it is going to government entities. Right? Am I getting any? What am I getting for that money? Can anyone explain it to me? Everything that I have here, I bought. Everything that I have that I can see with my own eyes, I bought with the money that I earned, and then money that was taxed as labor, and then when I spent it to buy this stuff, it was taxed again. So, you whether it's sales tax or whatever, over here it's 8%. 8.25%, whatever it is. So I get taxed 50% from my labor, then I get taxed another 8%. So it's 60% of my money, more than that, is gone. What are we getting for that?
Extrapolations are the last refuge of a groundless argument. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs.
That's one of his most famous quotes, right? There are no solutions, right? Every solution is going to have a positive and a negative. And that's where the liberal mind blows up and explodes. And again, this is not to demonize them, right? They believe that there is a solution, perfect solution, where, we can do everything, right? Everything can get done. And there's nothing bad happened. Everything's good. There are only trade-offs. There are only trade-offs. If you are looking to help another person arbitrarily, that money, that the means of that comes from somewhere, comes from someone else's labor, unless they're giving it voluntarily, then there's a downside to it, right? Unless it's a private charity where people are giving to the charity out of their own free will, there are only trade-offs when it involves government.
No matter how much people on the left talk about compassion, they have no compassion for the taxpayers.
That's a good one.
One of the first things taught in introductory statistics textbooks is that correlation is not causation. It is also one of the first things forgotten.
Yeah, correlation, causation. The one I teach my kids all the time, right, is that somebody wants to give a stat. Correlation is not equal causation. They use the ice cream and the shark attacks, right? If you've never heard it before, it's very simple. If you look at a chart with ice cream consumption, chart will go like this, and then go down, right? And go up and down. And if you look at a shark attack chart, it actually has the exact same graph. You lay it over the top, is the exact same graph. They correlate. Right? increased ice cream eating correlates with shark attacks. So you could say that when ice cream consumption goes up, so does shark attacks. So, but what is it? What is that? That they don't cause each other, right? Because the subtext in that is because more people eat ice cream in the summer, and more people go into the water in the summer. That's why. So that's why you can be manipulated by these things. You have to be aware that they might correlate, right? But they may not intersect and cause each other.
Liberals seem to assume that if you don't believe in their particular political solutions, then you don't really care about the people that they claim to want to help.
So that's a great point, right? When it comes to minimum wage, when it comes to affirmative action, when it comes to all these things that either libertarian economists or conservative economists have been saying for years, that it hurts the people that it espouses to help, which is absolutely true. I can get into that in much later videos, but something very, very simple as a minimum wage increase, saying it's going to help these people. Well, it's going to help those particular people that get the minimum wage increase. But if you just take a bare bones argument and just trying to boil it down, if you have $100 a day for employment and you're employing 10 employees, you're paying them $10 each. Minimum wage now says, well, you have to pay those employees $50 each a day. Okay, so now I have 2 employees, maybe 3. Maybe I pull money elsewhere to get the third. Right? But now my expenditures are up to $150 a day. But let's say I have to stay within my $100 range. Okay, now I have 2 employees making 50, and there's 8 employees making 0. Perfect example. Right? It doesn't help the people that it espouses to help. Those 8 people not making anything. There's 2 people making 50 now. They're great, but those 2 people making 50 probably also would have gone along the way and worked up, right? Because there was a value there. They had more maybe skills and productivity greater than the other group, and that's why they got into the position where they got. Or maybe they just knew the person. Who the hell knows? But those 8 people now don't have a job.
One of the common failings among honorable people is a failure to appreciate how thoroughly dishonorable some other people can be, and how dangerous it is to trust them.
Yep.
Each new generation born is in effect an invasion of civilization by little barbarians who must be civilized before it is too late.
Dude, that's a good one. We're wild. We're animals, right? It's you throw somebody in the wild, and if they survive, they become feral. That's just we are animals. Right? We are only a product of our civilization. The way I'm talking, the way everything's presented, the way we dress, the way we smell, the way we eat, the way we laugh, the way we work. Everything that we do is a product of our civilization. Some people wear perfume. Some people wear deodorant. Some people wear sandals all day. That's what we are. Right? And people have to understand that a lot of parts in other civilizations would be, seem completely grotesque to us. What they do to other animals and other civilizations. I have a bunch of dogs. I have a lot of animals. Live in a rural county, and the way that other cultures treat animals would be like shocking to me. But again, when you have children, that's exactly what they are. You can mold them into whatever you want them to be. But if you choose not to, and you let the outer streets do that, especially in a urban setting, you're going to have a lot of little barbarians.
What is called an educated person is often someone who has had a dangerously superficial exposure to a wide spectrum of subjects.
Yeah, 100%.
Differences in habits and attitudes are differences in human capital, just as much as differences in knowledge and skills. And such differences create differences in economic outcomes.
Of course.
It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of our own ignorance. The only people I truly envy are those who can play a musical instrument and those who can eat anything they want without gaining weight.
That is pretty cool. So I I grew up musically. I play the piano and I play other instruments, and I sang for many years, so I can really relate to that. It is my father always told me that that was one of the things that, all the kids are playing video games, stuff like that, and I was practicing the piano. Didn't really like it too much, but in the end, now I could just sit down and I can be by myself or with the kids or hanging out or whatever. And the, everyone should learn how to play an instrument if it's possible, if it's feasible. You should take the time and learn how to play an instrument. I definitely cannot eat whatever I want. I will gain weight like a madman, unfortunately. When I was younger, no problem. Past 20, big problem. But the instrument thing I got, so that's pretty cool. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me. Please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. Small channel. We are growing. 6283 Talk on the X. I'm John Soto. Thanks a lot for coming out, guys. Take care.